NCAA Teamworks is a community-based program driven by the NCAA member schools, student athletes, and corporate champions and partners to actively engage in outreach efforts where national championships are played, providing disaster relief efforts, youth clinics, and education support. The NCAA and its partners work together to leave a lasting legacy in each community we visit. For more information, visit ncaa.com/teamworks. That's ncaa.com/teamworks. Exclusive access, premium tickets, and hospitality packages all from one source. Visit ncaa.com/VIP to secure your VIP championship experience today. Again, that's ncaa.com/VIP. The NCAA men's are corporate champions, AT&T, Number One, and Coca-Cola. And our corporate partners, Allstate, Buffalo Wings, Wingate, Degree, Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Infinity, Lowe's, LG, Nabisco, Northwestern Pizza, Reese's, and Wendy's. They're supporting NCAA championships and the educational and athletic experiences of nearly half a million NCAA student athletes. As the NCAA sponsors 9 national championships in 24 sports across 3 divisions each year. For more information or to find a championship near you, visit NCAA.com. That's NCAA.com. Don't want you to hear share your experiences, connect with other fans, and give you behind-the-scenes access to your favorite teams. For more information, visit NCAA.com/social. Again, that's NCAA.com/social. Fans, be sure to take home a souvenir from today's championship. Visit NCAA merchandise stands throughout the venue for great championship gear and memorabilia.
NCAA Division II Men's Basketball Championship right here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Tonight's quarterfinal game features the Wingate Bulldogs versus the Queen's University of Charlotte Royals.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I ask that you please rise and remove your hats to honor America and those who support our freedom at home and abroad for the playing of our national anthem. Fans, the NCAA promotes good sportsmanship by student athletes, coaches, and fans. We request your cooperation to support student athletes and officials in a positive manner. Profanity, derogatory comments, or other intimidating actions directed at athletes, officials, team representatives, or other fans will not be tolerated and are grounds for removal. The NCAA has many traditions, but bad sportsmanship isn't one of them. We appreciate your cooperation in creating a safe and positive game environment. Respect, that's the name of the game.
The third of 4 quarterfinal matchups today features two very familiar foes. They meet for the 4th time this year, for the 10th time in the last 3 seasons. The top seed Queens, the 8 seed Wingate from Curry Arena on the campus of Queens University of Charlotte. Good evening. Thanks for staying with us. Third game of the day, and I've got someone new at the microphone. That's John Short. I'm Phil Constantino. Glad to have you along. John, Queens and Wingate, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, so Phil, heading into the conference tournament, Wingate was the only team that the conference that Queens had not yet beaten. They took care of business in the conference semifinal thanks to some hot shooting, but Wingate comes into this matchup knowing that they can upset the Royals.
It was 2 7-point victories for Wingate over Queens to pull off a sweep of the regular season series, but then the Royals rebounded, led by 21 at halftime, led by 31 at one point in the second half, and ultimately pulled out a 28-point win over the Bulldogs to end their conference tournament hopes in the postseason tournament in the South Atlantic Conference. So it should be a good one here today. As we go ahead and look at the bracket, the winner of this contest will get the winner of the game that succeeds us, and that's another pair of familiar foes. Columbus State and Augusta, the 4-5 matchup. 2 teams out of the Peach Belt. They will meet for the 3rd time this season. That semifinal comes at 7:30 p.m. tomorrow. The first semifinal is set. Number 6 Limestone pulls off an upset of number 3 UNC Pembroke, 100-85 the final score. And Lincoln Memorial continues to roll in the postseason. They did stumble versus Queens, but it's a win now in 17 of 18 games for the Round Splitters. They won it 118-86 in an offensive onslaught over the 7 seed Fight Club. So if the Royals and the Bulldogs want to get there, we'll start with Wingate today on this supposedly neutral site game. They are the visiting team. If they want to get there, I'd imagine it starts with Keith Griffin in the post. He's been huge for them in games versus Queens this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Keith Griffin, he's a guy, all-conference honorable mention. He's a force in the paint. He averages 7 rebounds per game and almost 3 blocks per game. He's going to be huge for Wingate, and his physical presence is going to be tough for Queens to overcome.
And as we extrapolate that into the keys to the game, Keith Griffin, I'm sure, makes an appearance in those for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It starts right there. Can Wingate own the paint, and can they own the boards against this Queens team? In both regular season matchups, Wingate won the rebounding battle, and in the conference title, Queens won the battle and wound up winning the game.
For Queens, you could argue in meeting number 3, Todd Withers, tonight's impact player, was the difference for the Royals.
Yeah, absolutely. In that conference title matchup, he went 5 from 8 from 3. He's a streaky shooter. Can he continue that tonight?
And as for the keys for the Royals' victory?
Yeah, absolutely. It begins with hitting those shots. If they can get hot from outside like they did in that semifinal matchup, they can set up their defense and put a lot of pressure on this Wingate team that can turn the ball over.
All right, so Queens and Wingate. The Royals won the most recent meeting. It's meeting number 4. Gotta love Division II basketball. Gotta love the Southeast region. And we join our public address announcer, Woj.
The 2017 NCAA Division II Men's Basketball Championship. Tonight's game features the Wingate University Bulldogs versus the Queens University of Charlotte Royals. Now let's meet the starting lineups for tonight's game. At forward for Wingate, a 6'4" senior from Matthews, North Carolina, number 20, Josh Dominguez. At forward for Queens, a 6'5" senior from Fayetteville, North Carolina, number 13, Daniel Camps. At center for Wingate, a 6'9" senior from Concord, North Carolina, number 24, Keith Griffin. At forward for Queens, a 6'8" junior from Greensboro, North Carolina, number 33, Todd Withers. At guard for Wingate, a 6'2" senior from Holly Springs, North Carolina, number 11, Anthony Doyle. At guard for Queens, a 5'11" junior from Dallas, Texas, number 0, Ike Agassi. At guard for Wingate, a 6'5" sophomore from Orlando, Florida, number 13, Mike Baez. At guard for Queens, a 6'3" redshirt junior from Newberry, South Carolina, number 2, Jalen Alexander. At guard for Wingate, a 6'2" junior from Orlando, Florida, number 44, Zarek Lawler. And at guard for Queens, a 6'4" junior from Brunswick, Georgia, number 4, Mike Davis. And introducing the head coaches for Wingate, Brian Good. And for Queens, Bart Lundy. Officiating tonight's game is Jeremy Moser, Corey Haney, and Edwin Lee.
Give myself a C on that.
Queens and Wingate, the two local rivals. They meet again, separated by about 45 minutes off a stretch of road that juts east of Charlotte. They'll meet today for the right to move on to the second round of the NCAA tournament. Along with John Short, courtside, I'm Phil Constantino. Glad to have you along. You know, there was a local reporter this week that did a story on both Queens and Wingate. Went to both practices, John. He works for the local Fox affiliate. Josh Sims does a great job. Interviewed players from Queens, coaches from Queens, players from Wingate, coaches from Wingate. Well, I can tell you that there was definite bulletin board material, at least for the Royals, when they felt Wingate disrespected them by saying, we've had their number this year. Well, when it counted most, Queens won by about 30. And now both sides kind of with vengeance on their minds and a reason to avenge something. We'll meet today in the fourth meeting. Royals in the white uniforms. They start with the basketball. Alexander, a pretty hot step, but can't finish. And Daniel Camps runs down the loose ball for Queens.
Yeah, good start for the Royals. Get to the basket. That movement without the ball and with the ball is going to be key. That's something they weren't able to do too much in the regular season matchups. The offense at times stagnating. So if the Royals can get off to a hot start, hit shots like they did in that conference semifinal, they're going to be tough to stop. But this is a Wingate team that has proven that they can take it to this Royals team.
Well, Daniel Camps is at the free throw line. Camps just 5 points away from 1,000 on his career. Started at the University of Northern Kentucky. The Norse headed to the NCAA tournament for the first time this year. Just clinched their bid the other day. But Daniel Camps 0 for 2 in his first trip, now with Queens. And the Royals, as they did in the third meeting in the semifinals of the SAC tournament, starting with pressure, and Wingate able to break it by his backdoor.
Yeah, Phil, you mentioned that pressure. The Royals were able to speed up the Bulldogs in that matchup and cause 20 Wingate turnovers, but they turned into 21 points, a big factor in that win.
And Camps comes up with another rebound for Queens. Not a ton of movement on this possession, John, as Alexander rises up and connects.
That's right. That's the type of shot where wound up going in, but not a whole lot of movement prior to that shot going up. That's something that Queens can't rely on, those outside shots, they expect to win this game.
And that was part of what did in the Royals in the first two meetings, was not moving without the basketball. As Baez rises up and Baez connects. First team all-conference selection. He's on the board for Wingate, all 5 of their early points.
In this last matchup, Wingate only went 15% from beyond the arc. That's not the case so far tonight.
And you can tell that Wingate has come out with an intensity. Their bench up and into it. And it's a foul on Daniel Camps.
Queens extending that pressure.
Now the Royals did force 20 turnovers via 8 steals in that third meeting. Again, they led by 21 at halftime as an offensive foul is committed by Zarek Lawler. Led by 21, eventually 31, and won it by 28. And it's the second already on the Bulldogs, about 2 minutes in.
Well, already we're seeing a completely different game in that semifinal matchup.
Wingate didn't have the energy, whereas Queens did have the energy last time. This time it's the Bulldogs with the energy and the Royals kind of stagnant.
That's right. So far reminiscent of the game that was here during the regular season. Queens was going through a busy stretch of their schedule, having just beat LMU at home. Very intense matchup.
Daniel Camps already with 3 rebounds for Queens. Extra pass to the corner. Alexander a 3. Trying to go 2 for 2 in the open. He misses. Now Davis left alone. And Mike Davis puts Queens in front for the first time, 6-5. The honorable mention, all-conference selection in his first year on the SAC.
Queens needs to keep hitting those shots and, like I said at the open, be able to set up that defense and cause Wingate turnovers like what we saw just there.
Griffin loses the handle, and a turnover goes to the Royals. Mike Davis, the transfer from Francis Marion University, 19 points per game a season ago. He's been sitting between 11 and 13 at different points this year. First team all-conference selection last year, one of 5 Royals to achieve postseason honors this year. 4 all-conference selections across the 3 separate platforms, and Daniel Carr, an all-freshman team selection. Ike Agassi had himself a big tournament, made the SAC conference tournament team. White goes baseline, guarded nicely by Baez. Baez calls for a double dribble. Officials don't signal it, and now a foul is committed by Baez as White falls down.
Not a whole lot of ball movement again. A lot of the movements off the dribble.
And that is already 3 team fouls on the Bulldogs, the first on Mike Baez. Mentioned the postseason accolades for Baez. He was a first-team all-conference selection. Keith Griffin, who we highlighted in the open, was an honorable mention selection. Also, Josh Dominguez, who I think you could argue was a first-team type talent and is as important as anybody for this Wingate team. A prolific three-point shooter, a second-team all-conference selection, as the Royals have opened 0 for 3 at the free throw line.
Yeah, that free throw shooting, especially the way the foul matchup has started so far, is going to be important. It's March, you need to hit your free throws.
Lob for Griffin, and Griffin able to touch it home. Keith Griffin, he's more of a defensive star, 9th all-time in the SAC in career blocks. He's led the South Atlantic Conference all season long, about 3 blocks per game. In the first 2 meetings, he averaged 4 blocks for Wingate against Queens, and that time Davis able to step around the big man Griffin.
That was a great job by Davis, getting into the lane, using his body, showing the ball, then taking it away from the shot blocker and Griffin.
And now Davis pokes it free. Jarred it out of the clutches of Baez. Agassi now on the run. Out to Alexander. And Queens' offense finally firing after that slow start.
Yeah, even though that was just one pass and then the shot, Agassi's dribble penetration was able to get the ball into the lane, make the defense move a little bit, so Alexander was wide open for that 3.
Lawler, a pump fake, spins in. Davis goes down, no call, but Hendricks blocks it right to Davis.
That was some play by Mike Davis, catching that ball while lying down. It's starting the fast break.
Now Davis will rise up and shoot it. And now this is somewhat reminiscent of that semifinal matchup between the Royals and the Bulldogs.
Very similar start with that hot shooting from outside.
That game too, at the 2-minute mark, Wingate had the lead. Then Queens started to get hot. Todd Withers went 4 for 4. The Royals opened up an advantage at the first media timeout. This time, more because of Jalen Alexander and Mike Davis. But the Royals on top with 15:36 left in the first half. Well, when shots go in, it's easier to set up the pressure. That has been the difference in game number 3 and the beginnings of game number 4 for Queens and Wingate this year. When the Royals can set the pressure up, they seem to take the advantage. So here's my question for you then, John. If you're Wingate, you struggle to break the pressure. Clearly, you'll have to figure this out to win this game today and keep your season alive. How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, I think the easiest way is to not let Queens hit shots. That's not always going to be an option. But
there you go.
When they are able to set up that pressure, it's important. Quick passes, get the ball to the middle. They've had some success throwing over the top, but getting the ball out of the trap zones quickly. That's what I'll look for the Bulldogs to do in order to keep this game from getting away from them and break this pressure.
As Dominguez just lost the handle. Maybe got ahead of himself, took his eye off the ball. Not typical of Josh Dominguez, who scored 40 or nearly 40 points in a game a couple times this season. Had a 37-point performance in a key moment versus Lincoln Memorial. Though Wingate dropped that game, Dominguez was on fire, and his scoring average was around 20 points per over the final 10 games of the season, and upped his total for the year for Dominguez to nearly 15 points per. Davis and Baez, nice extra feed, and Curitin from behind a block.
There's that effective inside defense from the Bulldogs there.
Sorry, John, with the shot clock running down, Agassi just a heave. Now Doyle rises up and withers the board. Todd had a double-double in the last meeting, 17 and 10, and turns it over. Pretty play by Dominguez, retreating for the steal.
This frenetic pace, I think, favors the Royals, but the Bulldogs can use it to their advantage, too, with crisp passes, get the ball inside, just like they were able to do to Griffin there.
Well, this is some pretty ball movement from Wingate, but Davis in help defense, and Hendricks able to deny Griffin and Dominguez.
Bulldogs can't force shots like that against this Royals defense. They need to keep the ball moving, similar to what we've been saying about the Royals. Crisp passing, keep the ball moving. The shots will be there.
Curitin, the super sub, able to spin around, reverse laying around Withers. Isaiah Curitin, preseason first-team all-conference selection. He's been relegated to coming off the bench. But what a star he is. Top 5 in the league in rebounds. 8 rebounds per game for someone who's more of a guard than he is a forward. And a block. Now Curitin on the move. Lost the handle. And a foul? No, it's just out of play.
Nice job by Curitin the past 2 trips down the floor, forcing the issue, making Queens play defense. I think both times, our first time against Todd Withers, that time Jared Hendricks, taking the ball right at him.
It only generated 2 points, but you like the last few minutes if you're Wingate. Couple of steals defensively. As a whole, they've already forced 3 Queens turnovers. Royals winning the early turnover battle by 1. And a foul is called. Daniel Carr just on for Queens. He grabbed Curitin as Isaiah tried to shake free. First on Daniel Carr, the all-freshman team selection in the sack. Actually coming off a week in which he missed a bunch of practice time sick. And the clock was on. The 5-second violation is the call against Wingate. The inbounder, Jeremy Williams, 6-foot freshman from nearby Monroe, North Carolina. Famed Hargrave Military Academy, unable to find an open man. Camps' pass is deflected, and another Wingate steal. 3 straight possessions, 3 straight Queens turnovers.
They can turn Queens over. Queens doesn't take care of the ball very well.
And a foul is called. Hold on, let's see what the official says. I think there may have been a moving screen. That's what Bart Lundy is yelling about. Now Isaiah Curitin with Lundy barking is walking around to his fans and pumping up the crowd. Now will they count the basket or not is the question. The basket is good by Dominguez, and then a foul on Todd Withers trying to get through the screen. There was definite pushing and shoving. Now pushing and shoving away from the discussion between Lundy and the refs. Here's the rivalry. Wouldn't be the first time there was pushing and shoving on this floor today.
Daniel Camps playing the peacemaker on the floor. Coach Lundy having to be calmed down as well.
It's a tough call to make. It really could go both ways. I think you could have had a moving screen there on Lee McCall. At the same time, Withers did body him up pretty good. And you got to count the basket. Now Dominguez will attempt another. That is a 6-point Wingate swing, and we're tied at 15.
Just like that, tie ball game. Once again, this Wingate team is not going to go away easily.
Baez guards Davis. Davis rises up, and Mike Davis is on fire to start. He's already in double figures with 11.
Davis continuing the talk and had a message for the Wingate bench, it seemed. I'd like to see that calm down a little bit.
He's 3 of 4 from outside. Dominguez, that's 3 in a row for Josh. And Josh Dominguez now with 9 points. on 3 of 4 shooting from outside. Carr turns it over, and Williams the steal. And Carr commits his second foul at the 12:49 mark of the first half.
Royals getting a little sloppy on their offensive end. And give all the credit to this Wingate defense, shooting passing lanes, having busy hands, getting some deflections, and ultimately steals.
There is no question about the intensity. The media request for this one, abundant. After the other games of the more remote teams filed out, the cameras have come in. Press row across the way is filled. Now Dominguez nearly stumbles down, finds Curitin. And the rebound, Agassi for Queens. Davis is fouled as he puts it on the floor. Baez caught a hand in tight. And that is the second on Mike Baez. So he will come out 12:24 of the first half. That is huge.
That was a big foul on Baez. He's a huge part of this Bulldogs offense, but also great stopper on defense.
Davis, he's feeling it. That's 4 of 5 from outside. Mike Davis with 14 of Queens' 21 points.
Davis's hot shooting has done a lot to cover up the stagnant offense of Queens we've talked about so far.
They don't seem to have that same pep in their step. And Wingate has definitely matched the intensity.
Absolutely.
Dominguez, he'll take another look at it. Short, may have been deflected. Now White in transition for the Royals. A little hesitation from Mike Davis.
That was a great play by Davis. So far, we mentioned how strong Wingate is inside their interior defense. Mike Davis not undeterred, taking it right at the heart of that defense.
And it's a 5-0 Mike Davis run and a traveling violation on Dominguez. And we've hit the under 12 media timeout at 11:33. The emotions, they go back and forth. The benches rise. They sit back down. It's early, and tensions are high here at Curry Arena. John Short, you are currently aggressively grilling the box score that was just run over to you. What do you see?
Well, I'm getting the tail of the tape here. And what I see a strong Wingate defense, 2 blocks, 5 steals so far. But it's the hot shooting of Mike Davis that's really kept Queens in this.
Now, Mike Davis was just passed off from Dominguez to Curitin now. Baez has attempted to guard him. Let's see if anyone can stop Mike Davis. Off the dribble, into the lane, able to finish. Hold on, wave it off.
He's been able to hit from outside, take it off the dribble. He's proven to be a very difficult matchup. I'd expect the Royals to continue trying feeding him the ball.
They have Dominguez on him right now. I'd be surprised if they don't go back to Curitin. Let's see who will match him up. Wingate sticking to that man-to-man. That's what they play. Tough catch for Withers.
Withers recognized the mismatch down there, posting up, got the ball on a nice over-the-top entry pass, able to finish.
Todd Withers, first points of the game. You know who's been silent so far? Daniel Kemps, career-high 29 points in the championship victory over Lincoln Memorial the other night in the SAC tournament. Royals winning the SAC tournament title for the first time in program history, their 4th year in the league, as White, jostling with Griffin, wins the battle over the much taller Keith Griffin. The all-conference selection. Now Withers.
Well, in that semifinal matchup, Withers went 5 from 8 from 3.
He opened 4 for 4 that day. And he now has 5. It's a 5-0 Todd Withers run. And the Royals have taken their biggest lead at 10.
This hot shooting continuing from the last time these two teams saw each other.
Davis guards Dominguez now. That matchup going at the other end of the floor. Lawler backing in on Agassi. That's a slight size advantage for Lawler. And Ike unable to save it. Agassi stepped out of bounds and then ran about 3 rows up in the bleachers as he makes his way back out to the floor.
Phil, Keith Griffin was our player to watch for Wingate at the top of the broadcast, and he's very fun to watch play. He gets his hands on every single rebound, it seems. Whether they come away with it or not, he's very active on that offensive glass.
How about Agassi poking a hand in to jar it loose of Curitin. Now Agassi tees up a 3. Queens is shooting 8 of 11 from outside. First bucket of the game for Ike Agassi.
Well, any team is difficult to stop when in the first 10 minutes they shoot 8 from 11 from 3.
Curitin kicks it out to Doyle, the former UT Chattanooga D1 player. Cans a 3. Back to 10, first bucket of the game for the point guard Anthony Doyle. He's assumed the role after Kerrigan Farley in the first game of the year tore his ACL. And Wingate for a while was without its starting point guard, or a starting point guard. And the foul is called against Doyle, his first, and the team 6th at 9:06. So from the next foul on, the Royals will shoot free throws for the duration. Josh Van Weezep comes on for Queens. So does Jalen Alexander. Mike Davis, DJ White go out. This is such a big matchup, John, not just for this year, but for, as a whole, the tradition of the two programs. In about 30 years, actually a little under, the Royals have now made 10 NCAA tournament appearances. This is number 11 for Wingate, 4 in the last 6 years, both in the tournament as at-large, or at least as selections over the last 2 seasons. Queens the automatic qualifier this year, as a travel is called against the Royals.
Well, Phil, to your point, what makes a rivalry great is physical proximity, the fans knowing each other, picking a side, but also shared success of the programs. You need the matchup to be even. You need to have the outcome in doubt when the two teams get together, and just continued success nationally and in the conference. And this matchup absolutely has that.
Here's how intertwined they are. We got a couple of Wingate people working behind the scenes on our broadcast today. We appreciate them coming over to put this one on the web for all the fans of the Southeast region. Number 1 versus number 8 in the region this year. And Keith Griffin, that's his second field goal. He's got 4 points.
Well, Keith Griffin, pretty moves with the back to the basket. I think he's got a lot of extracurricular activities outside basketball we might get to, but he might have a future in big man camps with how fundamental he is and the footwork that he has down low.
He might be the most fundamentally sound and maybe the most underrated big man in the league, period. I know there were some good ones. Chase Mounts at Tusculum, Sawyer Williams, Carson Newman. Obviously, you name it. Emmanuel Terry, Chris Perry, Paul Woodson. Just pick one of the 18 that Lincoln Memorial has. But what a season, what a career, and you mentioned the off-the-court stuff. We'll get to that. What a impressive kid Keith Griffin is. Curitin drives, tries a reverse flush, and Hendricks there to maybe poke it loose. If not, he just missed it. Now Withers. Not a good shot.
Yeah, we mentioned that Queens offense benefiting from hitting these shots, but they really need to pay attention on offense to keep them moving the ball because they can't rely on that hot shooting going forward.
Agassi looking to create. Agassi tripped up and a foul. Doyle got his leg caught in the wrong spot. And Queens will shoot 1-1 when we come back. 7:32 left, half number one. Royals in front of the Bulldogs. First round of the NCAA tournament. Back courtside with John Short. I'm Phil Constantino. Glad to welcome all of you listening in to the third quarterfinal of the day. We'll have game number 4 shortly after the conclusion of this one. And the winner of this game will get the winner of Columbus State and Augusta in the semifinals tomorrow evening at 7:30. John, you just said to me during the break, I think a very important point. Mike Baez went off a couple minutes ago, the first team all-conference selection, the leading scorer near 16 points per game on the season for Wingate, with 2 fouls, about 5 minutes ago to be exact. And Queens has gone on a run.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can talk about the hot shooting of Queens, but just as big in this game has been the absence of Baez. The Bulldogs offense just doesn't look the same without him out there. And unexpectedly, right? He's
so long and athletic, but he's such a good shooter as well. Shoots the 3 at a solid percentage. Shoots on the season over 45%. But Baez, as an offensive foul, is called against Doyle. And that is the second on Anthony Doyle, the 8th on the team. But Baez has the ability to pull up from so far outside and hit off-balance shots, almost in a way like Mike Davis did before for Queens. He's one of those guys for Wingate that when things are going wrong, he can kind of right the ship.
Absolutely, and that's something I remember from the regular season matchups that Wingate was able to win, is Baez always seemed to hit the big shot at the right time, and he
hit the one that iced the game in the first meeting.
That's right, and he was able to pull up as well as hit beyond the arc. They really miss having him out there right now.
DJ White connects on a triple. DJ White on the season is now 10 of 15 from outside. Doesn't shoot a ton. When he shoots them, they go in. And the Royals have clinched their largest lead so far, 13, 36-23, 7-minute mark of the first half. Dominguez, tough shot, count it.
That was just a great drive by Dominguez. Going to his left, jump stop, staying under control, absorbing the contact, and finishing with his left hand.
And for all the X's and O's, I think we can break down 2 man-to-man teams. You're going to get a lot of one-on-one matchups.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It starts with the ball movement, but putting the ball on the floor, getting the edge against your man, and making a play like Wingate was able to do there.
Dominguez now has 11, off to a hot start himself. 3 of 6 from the floor, all 3 makes from outside. Check that, 4 of 6 he just made from inside before. And that is a foul on, what number did they give, 4? They put it on the board against Lee McCall, backup big, 6'9", 210 pounds, junior from Indian Land, South Carolina. And Lawler, the rebound.
With this Bulldogs lineup out there with no Griffin, no Baez, this is a crucial point in this game. On both ends of the floor to see if they can get something going on offense.
What's the measuring stick? Keep the deficit where it is or try and trim it?
I'd say keep it where it is, not let this game get out of hand.
Curitan short. Agassi nearly crossed himself up. 6-minute mark, half number one.
Bulldogs with a smaller lineup out there, too. Again, no Baez, no Griffin. I say as a shot gets sent into the stands.
3 Bulldogs rise up and collectively swat Jalen Alexander into the bleachers behind the basket.
It wasn't necessarily because they were big, is the point I was making. The Wingate missing a lot of size out there.
Oh, John. You're beautiful, aren't you? Charlie Hovass will come on for the first time. Jeremy Williams for Wingate comes off. Queens shooting 57% from the floor, 9 of 13, 69% from outside, 43 and 45% from the respective categories for Wingate so far. Withers a fadeaway in the corner and missed it woefully short. That a designed play by Bart Lundy.
Phil, last time down the floor, Queens was in a 1-2-2 zone. Looks like on the miss that time they're coming back in man-to-man.
And McCall goes through the body of Hendricks, cuts it to a single-digit game. It's the third game of the day, John. I know it's your first, it's my third.
That's right.
As Davis tumbles down, and a tripping call will go against Dominguez.
I'm not sure about that foul call.
Check that. Believe they said Hovass, number 14. Davis slow to get up, and he will eventually push himself off the floor. Tumble down aggressively. Already 16 points in the game for Mike Davis. And I think that's fair, John. Brian Good has his palms up, the former Queens coach, now in his 9th year at Wingate, talking to the official. Davis did appear somewhat out of control, but he now has 17 first-half points.
Well, we were talking earlier about what makes a rivalry great, and Coach Good and his experience at Queens and knowing both these teams certainly plays into that as well.
Extrapolating the point. I love that word. Dominguez able to lay it over Hendricks and Davis. Brian Good said in the leaked tape on the Twitter sphere that I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, he said, it's the 4th time we've seen them. I'm not sure how much we have to prepare. And I'm not sure that comment sat so well with the Royals because it was brought up at practice this week. And Mike Davis now has 20 first-half points. Davis is 5 of 6 from outside.
This is a very impressive performance by Mike Davis.
I get what Brian Good is saying, by the way. I kind of agree. You know everything they do when you play them every year 3 times. Met 3 times last year. They meet 4 times this year. Hovass able to free it to Dominguez. Now Hovass looks inside for Curitin.
Good job by Curitin. Getting the position, holding it. He had great position on Alexander. It was all Alexander could do to kind of claw to try and get back on top before the entry pass came in. Curitin drew the foul.
It's Eric Lawler back in. Agassi denies a shot from Hovass in the corner, and Hendricks sends it into the cheerleaders. Seats behind the baskets not full. We should note, John, great crowd on hand. Place is packed. Both schools on spring break currently, so a lot of families, not as many students. Hope they're watching at home, listening to you and I.
Yeah, great crowd on hand. Earlier games had great crowds as well.
Hendricks catches it at the apex, and they will count the basket. May have been on the way down. Just caught the ball.
He was close to catching the ball on the way down. The block he sent out of bounds. That time just waited a second too long before snatching it out of the air.
I think the officials got it right. Queens by 9. And an offensive foul against Hendricks. So back-to-back calls go against Jared Hendricks. And that is his second foul. And he will immediately come off. Daniel Camps will come back in. And it is win or go home. So for a pair of seniors, they might be somewhat lucky to have extra games. This is now 2 extra games, I should say, after the SAC tournament game was played here after senior day. But Daniel Camps and Jared Hendricks both hoping this isn't their last game. And you have seniors for Wingate playing in front of the hometown crowd, essentially, hoping it's not their last either. To think that one of these rivals will end the season of the other, that is such fuel and ammunition for next season. Lawler tosses one with the left hand, and Agassi the first to it.
Great job by Agassi to run down that rebound. That was a loose ball. These 50-50 balls at a hotly contested matchup like this are going to be important to come down with.
Alexander dribbles it off his foot. Lawler left unmarked. Tough shot, Dominguez. And Withers goes down, and who's the foul against? And it is on Charlie Hovass. Well, Queens maintains a lead by 9 points, 3:24 left to go. Half number 1. John, we said before, around about the last media timeout, we said that Wingate just needs to weather the storm, and I'd imagine they have to be happy after the last passage of play.
Absolutely. With Baez on the bench in foul trouble, key to the offense, as we mentioned, even Griffin taking some time on the bench there, they've weathered that hot shooting start and are sitting only down 9 right now.
And you wonder when Baez may reappear, if Brian Good will turn to him at all. I think if you can keep it tight, why bring him back in for the final 3:24 of the period? If it does get out of hand, maybe you throw him in for a minute or two. But you know you need Mike Baez if you're going to win this game in the second half.
Yeah, I agree. I think if they can keep it under double digits, you keep him on the bench, and then you go in the locker room at halftime and tell your team, hey, like we withstood them getting absolutely on fire.
They shot a great percentage. We didn't have Mike Baez, and we're still in it.
Exactly.
Well, let's see what Wingate does. Let's see who they turn to. Dominguez had his hand in the air calling for it. Hasn't touched it yet on this possession. Hovass. Griffin bats it out, but Agassi is there. And Agassi able to keep the handle through traffic.
Royals once again going to that 2-3 zone.
Mixing up defensive looks. They had a 1-2-2 pressure and a 2-1-2 pressure they mixed in the semifinal matchup. Threw some zone at them as well after being almost exclusively a man-to-man team throughout the season. Davis trying to shake free, and he's bumped on the perimeter by Lawler.
Part of that was Mike Davis being difficult to guard. Part of that was Lawler kind of getting caught flat-footed.
Well, Zarek Lawler is a solid player for this Wingate team. He started every game this year. Him and Dominguez, the only two. Basketball runs in his bloodlines. His father played for the old Seattle Supersonics out of Orlando, Florida. Orangewood Christian School. Plays about 30 minutes per. And Lawler comes off as Davis hits one of two. And nearly a steal by Davis. Curitan flings it out of play. And Isaiah Curitan immediately taps his chest, looks over at Jeremy Williams, says, my bad. Tried to recover, but I guess you have to give credit to Mike Davis for the defensive effort.
Bulldogs so far able to limit their turnovers for the most part against this Royals pressure. That time got a little sloppy and threw it out of bounds.
And Agassi a step back. That's two made triples for Ike Agassi. He's got 8 points, the Queens point guard.
Reminiscent of the end of that conference championship game where Agassi was just the man.
Curitan may have double dribbled, nearly put his second hand on it, then threw it into the legs of Alexander. Now Davis a quick trigger, way off the mark. Not a great shot. Davis pressures Dominguez out high. Offensive foul. And Dominguez knows it. Dominguez did not look toward the officials, put the basketball down, and he realized it. And that is the second foul on Dominguez. So Baez with two, Dominguez with two, and Baez still on the bench.
Yeah, on that play, we saw earlier a play where Dominguez went to his left, very strong, going to his left, was able to jump stop, stay under control, and make a nice finish and draw the foul. That time got a little out of control, tried to do a little bit too much, and Mike Davis was there to absorb the contact and draw the charge.
90 seconds left in the half. Alexander, a pump fake, a drive through Griffin. First team all-conference selection, Jalen Alexander. He's got 6 points. Griffin can't go. Nearly a great effort by Griffin. Now Hovas, lay-in, averted by Withers. And who's it off of? And Wingate will keep it.
Couple good shots right at the rim for the Bulldogs, just not able to convert.
And it's last off of Withers. Tried to signal that it deflected again off of Williams. But Williams threw it off the knee of Withers, and now Curitan, the veteran, will come and relieve the freshman.
Williams had a 5-second call earlier trying to inbound the ball. That time got a little hot under the collar and had to throw it off Queens player.
And Williams, we should note, in the 2 regular season meetings before the conference tournament, played a combined 4 minutes versus Queens. Did miss one meeting, the first one injured, so did not play in the game here at the Levine Center. Played a few minutes versus the Royals in the semifinal matchup. But again, Curitan, the veteran experience, and probably a smart move by Isaiah to go and relieve the backup point guard. Well, there's a huddle that's trying to figure out how to overcome 16 points. Where does it start, John?
Well, they've done it when they've been successful. They've been beating this Queens pressure, getting open looks at the rim and converting. I think when they've been able to set up their offense in the half court, it's been quick passes inside out to get this Queens defense moving, and they need to continue doing that. They've been able to do that with Baez on the bench as well.
Curitan finds Griffin, and we're in the final minute of the first half. Hovas, another one who hasn't played a ton versus Queens this year. In fact, Hovas only played 2 minutes in the regular season before the semifinal. And it's going to the Royals. 2 shots upcoming as Queens is in the double bonus. It's a second foul on Keith Griffin.
Phil, you mentioned the players for the Bulldogs that haven't seen a lot of time on the floor this year, as well as the story with the foul trouble. And this just is not the start that Wingate hoped to have. Certainly not the way the regular season matchups started for them.
Well, Queens, who has opened shooting 6 of 13 from the free throw line, sees Daniel Camps rattle in one. And they've done it all without Daniel Camps. That is his first point of the ball game. It comes with 51 seconds left in the first half. And now Camps will come off in favor of Tate Small 51 seconds. Camps has one foul. Why not relieve him and avoid any further damage? Have him fresh for half number 2.
Coach Good employing the same philosophy and just took out Griffin as well. Sits with 2 fouls. Queens going back to this 2-3 where they match up when the ball gets into the corners.
And Tate Small in the middle, jockeying for position with McCall. Wingate looking inside, can't get it there. Now to 8 seconds to shoot, and a bump by Davis on Dominguez. It's only the first foul against Davis, but it does allow Wingate to shoot 1 and 1. And the Royals, fairly quietly, I guess, slowly creeping there, have put up 49 first half points. On pace for above their season average of 89.
Yeah, and the semifinal matchup of the conference tournament, they held this Wingate team to 51 points. Today, it's been the offense that's done it for them. Getting that hot start, and now in the second half of the first half, they've gotten to get to the line and hit the free throws.
We've been talking about Davis and his 21 first half points for Queens, but without 17 now from Josh Dominguez, this could be even more one-sided than a 16-point affair. So give credit to the second team all-conference selection. And now with the shot clock turned off, the Royals have used their first half timeout. Bart Lundy tells Ike Agassi, 1 shot. Down to 10 seconds. 6 seconds. Agassi to Alexander. Have to go. 2 seconds. Step back. 3 at the horn. And that will end the first half. And Queens leads by 16, John. They didn't necessarily play great basketball, but ultimately shot at a tremendous percentage, 64% from outside, 57% from the floor.
Well, they rode a extremely hot Mike Davis in the first half. I think that's the story. 49 points, 21 of those coming from Mike Davis, who's just unconscious from the field, covered up that what at times was a stagnant offense, and benefited from some foul trouble on Wingate and missing some key players. I think 16-point lead heading into the half. They got to be happy with that.
And Mike Baez played just 8 minutes.
I think, again, you can talk about the hot shooting, but that's the story of the first half for me. I think we know this Wingate team can score. It's extremely hard for them to keep that up with Baez on the bench.
Well, they did shoot 39% and 38% from the respective categories, numbers you would expect a Wingate team to improve upon. I know the Queens defense in the last meeting outperformed the Wingate offense, held them down in the 20s shooting percentage-wise. You just get the feeling that Wingate, that we've talked about might be the third best team in the region, is going to heat up.
Yeah, I mean, I would have a positive message if I'm Coach Good in the locker room at halftime. I think you come out and say what we were saying when we were talking about if they could keep it to double-digit lead or under double digits. You go in there and say, hey, we're going to come out full force. We know we can beat these guys. 16 points could dwindle pretty quickly with the way we know the Bulldogs could score.
Well, there's one thing we do know. They're up by 16, Queens. This game is far from over. This rivalry, up until the last meeting, Wingate had won 4 or 5 from the Royals over the past 2 seasons. We'll break for halftime. Stay with us. 49-33, Queens in front of Wingate. Meeting number 4 of the season. Third game of 4 in the quarterfinals today of the Southeast Regional. Half number 2 just moments away at the Levine Center in this first round matchup of the Southeast Regional. Queens leads Wingate by 16. They've led by as many as 18 and currently up by 16. Along with John Short, I'm Phil Constantino. We will take a look at the bracket from the rest of this regional today. This is the third of 4 in this building. This quarterfinal round earlier today, Limestone pulled out a victory over UNC Pembroke. The upset, I guess, the lower seed taking down the higher seed 100-85, the final score. Then Lincoln Memorial absolutely blitzed Pfeiffer, more than doubled them up by halftime and won it 118-86. So LMU 2 wins away from successfully defending its Southeast Regional crown, and the winner of this game will get the winner of Columbus State and Augusta. That is the final game still to come later on this evening. 16 points, I imagine, if you are Wingate. They took a long time in the locker room, John, but they have to be happy, as we mentioned, with Mike Baez. He did not play a ton, so he is now back into the fold to start the second half, and you just get the feeling this game's going to tighten up. It's not over by any means.
Yeah, absolutely. To start the game, it was pretty close when Baez was in there before he picked up that second foul. I think I am going to look to see how Wingate handles this Queens pressure with Baez back in there. He can do a lot of things, can handle the ball, obviously shoot it. So I think you're going to see a different Bulldogs team to start the second half than what we saw in the latter part of that first half.
And Wingate will start with the basketball in half number 1. They shot 39% and 38% from the respective categories. Queens shot 55% and 61%, 11 of 18 from beyond the arc. Mike Davis doing the bulk of the heavy lifting, 5 of 7 from distance, 7 of 9 from the field. He has 21 points to lead the Royals. They stop it for a second. Clock didn't start. Now the clock still isn't right. There we go. 19:55, 25 seconds to shoot. Now we do it. Half number 2, less than 20 minutes remaining on the season for one of these two teams out of the South Atlantic Conference. Queens finished tied for a co-championship in the regular season, won the conference tournament. Wingate, after a 3-7 start overall, 0-4 in the league, recovered, won 17 of their final 20. Finished as the 3 seed, but ultimately lost handily to Queens in the semifinals of the conference tournament. And Wingate back in the NCAAs for the second year in a row. Queens a steal on the initial possession. Now Agassi drives baseline, left alone, but can't finish.
Good ball movement by the Royals there on that possession to start the half.
Baez to Dominguez. Tapped out, and Griffin gets it to Lawler.
That's what Griffin can do. I mentioned his active hands earlier. It's coaches say it's not always coming down with offensive rebound. It's being able to get your hands on it, cause some deflections. He was able to do that on that play.
And a foul is called on Ike Agassi, reaching in on Baez. So already the first team all-conference selection is making a difference. And the first on Agassi. All 5 on the floor for the Royals. Their starting 5 all have 1. All 5 on the floor for Wingate. Their starting 5 have 2. And now it's 2 on Jalen Alexander. Baez flaring open is fouled from behind.
Well, we spent a lot of time talking about Mike Baez and what he means to this team, and that's an example of that right there. Going to the basket, very tough to stop when he gets ahead of steam. Heading to the line to shoot, too.
He had just 5 first-half points. And Alexander, with his 2 fouls, will come off. DJ White will replace him. Jalen, the former 3-star recruit. High major looks. Ultimately, times landed him after junior college and an All-American campaign in Division II ball with Queens. The Royals' leading scorer, 14 points per game, is now off the floor, at least for some time, as Baez hits both.
Coming down the floor, Dominguez is playing Mike Davis very closely. I think that was part of Coach Good's halftime speech.
Well, he gets a switch of Griffin for a second. White drives, camps, tough finish, able to push it home.
Great job by DJ White driving the lane. Nice pass to Camps with an athletic finish.
And we haven't mentioned this. Camps in the first half rather quiet. Just points number 3 and 4 of the game for him. Dominguez lines one up. And the rebound, Mike Davis.
Good job by the Bulldogs to break that pressure. Got a good look from 3 from Dominguez, just wasn't able to hit it.
16 points was the halftime margin. White off the handoff. Tough floater. DJ White leaning back, able to get it to go. Charlotte kid, Harding High School, playing in front of the hometown crowd, at least for the duration of this game this season. And a steal by Queens. Davis on the move. Royals go 2-on-1.
That was one of the easier plays you'll see in basketball. That ball just was wide open, free for the taking in the middle of the court.
And Mike Davis now with 23 points, John.
That was the easiest one of those 2 of those 23.
Well, if we start to look at the tracker, his career high is 31. He did it versus Armstrong State last year as a member of Francis Marion. Dominguez bounces for Griffin. Pretty feed. Withers a foul, and Griffin is headed to the free throw line.
Nice job to find the open Griffin underneath. Who once again goes strong. Squared himself, went up, drew the foul.
Well, we've raved about Keith Griffin all broadcast. What a player he is. Maybe physically isn't that imposing. Stands at 6'9", 212 pounds. The senior from Concord. But he is a smart, heady player. Wingate personnel has described him to me as the most sound defensive big man in the league. But he gets it done off the court as well. 2-time academic all-district selection. One of just a handful of players not in Division I to be named this year to the All-State NABC Good Works team for off-the-field stuff. He started a canine rescue mission, a nonprofit organization. The NABC wrote a great article about it this week. But a kid who apparently is primed to make a difference off the floor as well.
Yeah,
and he guards DJ White here, John.
Yeah, nice finish by DJ White, Jalen Alexander there. Griffin's nonprofit, Griffin Canine Rescue, has rescued and adopted more than 30 dogs since 2015. So
that's remarkable.
Getting it done on and off the court.
That is absolutely remarkable, and it's outstanding. It really is. As Dominguez is fouled, they'll either get Agassi or Alexander, and they'll get Ike. Second on Agassi would have been the third on Alexander, so Queens will take it.
Dominguez was 17 so far in this one, and he's played a fantastic game with Baez on the bench. He's very strong, going to either hand that time, going to his right, just as strong as to his left. No choice
17
but to foul.
Points. Dominguez has 17 points. Baez, pretty around the back move, and Hendricks there to stop it. Now Lawler off the inside out look. Big bucket for Zarek Lawler. 57-39. First field goal of the game for Lawler, one of the 5 starters.
Yeah, Wingate able to get the offensive rebound on that time. We mentioned that rebounding battle at the top. So far, Queens has been able to lead that matchup. We mentioned how important that was to the previous 3 matchups, and That statistical correlation holding true so far in this one.
Well, Alexander switched the mismatch onto Griffin before, knocked one down. Now Jalen will take another one from way outside. 14 now for Jalen Alexander.
Well, with the way Davis and Alexander are shooting from the outside, and not just the outside, from well beyond the arc, that's tough for any team to stop.
Well, it's a timeout taken, and a much-needed timeout for Wingate. And it will become a full media timeout. Wingate with 2 timeouts remaining after Brian Good calls for a stoppage to stop the bleeding. And Jalen Alexander picks up his 3rd foul. And guess what? This is the under 16 break. All right, we'll take a break too. Well, just 2 seconds ticked off the clock between the first coach-called media timeout and the under 16 timeout. And Mike Baez can't connect on a 3. Dominguez to Baez, extra pass Doyle. And from the corner, Wingate gets it to go.
Well, that time the offense went through Baez. Nice extra pass into the corner there for that 3.
And I guess that's kind of what you were saying before. He doesn't necessarily have to score, but when he's on the floor, the offense changes for Wingate.
Well, between making the extra pass and commanding the defense's attention.
As Agassi heaves one up. And White battling inside, but Griffin still gets it for Wingate. Doyle, Curitin. Dominguez lines it up. Way too strong. Baez the board and Baez the putback.
Guess who?
Queens can take as big of a lead as they want. You just never get the feeling it's going to be over versus Wingate. Withers trying to do his part.
Well, you mentioned the history between these two teams. I agree with you. I don't think there's any lead that's big enough that can overcome that mental hurdle of knowing that Wingate just flat out had the Royals number during the regular season.
And we've mentioned it was the regular season, but it's also been previous seasons. Curitin in and out. Tough shot over Withers. And last touch by Davis of Queens. Alexander comes back on with 3 fouls for the Royals. Daniel Camps in there as well. Withers draws the assignment on Curitin. It's been Davis or Withers all season long against the opponent's best player. And Curitin wins that matchup. Now Alexander is blocked. Goes down.
Alexander was smothered by 3 players. I agree with the no call there, but Wingate all over that drive.
And Baez tumbles down, and I think they'll get Agassi. How's this for the second half? 6 team fouls against the Royals, and none against Wingate. The second on Mike Davis. Still a 20-point Queens lead. Camps guards Curitin. Curitin into the lane. That's another tough finish for Isaiah Curitin.
Yeah, it's back-to-back plays with Curitin getting the ball and just creating his own shot, going towards the rim. Really nice athletic play by him.
Baez appeared to catch an elbow of Davis. Grimaced for a second. Now he's back guarding Mike, the game's leading scorer with 23. Camp spins in, double team, muscles through. And they'll get a foul, and it's on Josh Dominguez. And that is the third on Dominguez.
Bulldogs absolutely not giving up. I'm very impressed with their defensive intensity. You mentioned the shot that it looked like Baez took from Mike Davis.
And Camps misses it short. 999 career points for Daniel Camps. And make it 1,000. The senior, his 4th year playing college ball, started at Northern Kentucky in the Division I ranks. And now across the 2 different levels has 1,000 collegiate basketball points in NCAA sanctioned events.
What a career filled with accolades. Add another one.
Preseason second team all-conference selection. Ended on the honorable mention list, probably only because he did miss some time. 4 games with a left foot injury, and also was out of the starting lineup for a bit after his return. Baez a flex of the muscles after a tough finish. And Mike Baez almost single-handedly keeping his team in this. 9 points now for Mike Baez. 17-point lead. That's still plus for Queens in half number 2 after the 16-point advantage in the locker room. Withers off an inside-out look.
That hot Queens shooting is a cure-all for whatever Wingate's throwing at them on the offensive end.
And they keep their foot on the accelerator with the pressure. Wingate has committed 13 turnovers in this game to just 9 of the Royals. Able to break it. Doyle will launch. Doyle will hit.
Doyle shot that one with confidence. Caught the ball ready to fire and came up firing and knocked it down.
12:15 to go. Agassi gains a step on Curitin. Kicks it out for Alexander. Not a great pass. Over to Camps. Inside out again for Todd. Airballs it short. Jalen saves it, flings it out towards center, and Davis is clobbered. And that's tough for Isaiah Curitin, who just was caught inadvertently out of position. Timeout on the floor with 11:59 to go. Queens leading it by 17. Well, John, kind of like we predicted, Wingate has come out shooting hotter in the second half, up to 50%, 7 of 14 from the floor. But Queens has hit 2/3 of the shots they've taken in half number 2.
Yeah, I mean, credit the Bulldogs with a great start to the second half with Baez back. Their offensive seems to be clicking a little bit more, but hitting 65%, 66% in the second half from 3. That's tough for any team to overcome.
I just think it's tough to overcome when it's a talented team that comes out and shoots a percentage like that, even if it was a lesser talented team who wasn't hosting the regional. You shoot a percentage like that, you're going to have success.
Well, I think this is something we've seen from Queens all season, where in the first half it was Mike Davis. Second half it's Jalen Alexander and Todd Withers are able to hit from beyond the arc. And there's a lot of different guys on the squad that can do it, and they're putting on a show today.
Well, Wingate breaks the pressure once more. And Daniel Carr will be called for a foul. Had 2 hands in the body of Curitin. And that is the 3rd on Daniel Carr. Withers will take a breather, much deserved. 12 points for Todd. He's hit a couple of threes that when you thought Wingate would start to come back, he has kind of quelled the threat and kept that advantage high for Queens. An advantage that currently sits at 18 points as Isaiah Curitin heads to the free throw line. Nearly a 75% free throw shooter on the season.
Well, the Bulldogs shoot well from the line. So with 8 team fouls for the Royals, this second half, we could see a lot of shots with the clock off.
Well, if you ask Bart Lundy, he'll tell you free throws in the second game made a difference. Wingate made 21 of 29. They are the best free throw shooting team in the South Atlantic Conference. Nearly 76% on the season. That is incredibly good. Coaches will tell you if you're over 70. And will they get Baez? That is the case. Reaching in. And that is number 3 on Mike Baez at 11:21 to go.
Yeah, Baez has drawn the defensive assignment on Mike Davis before that foul. Looks like they just switched and put Curitin on Davis.
Curitin nearly had a deflection on the inbounds pass. Davis able to find Carr. Davis off a screen. 11 minutes to go. Backdoor. Alexander can't finish. And McCall the rebound. Give credit to Curitin and help defense to avert the shot. Extra pass Baez to Curitin. And the rebound Davis. What a game Mike Davis is having.
Once again for the Bulldogs on offense. Great second pass by Baez to find an open Curitin. It just wasn't able to hit down the shot.
Davis, of course, is leading the way for all scorers with 23. Also has 4 steals and a block and a pair of rebounds. Was that a contact problem? Some sort of debris then. Okay, it's cleaned up, I guess. The players are all getting in on it. And the Wingate fans taking the quiet stage of the arena to support their team. Davis. Nope. And Baez soars in for the rebound.
That was a bit of a heat check for Davis. 8 seconds left in the shot clock. Not the best shot, but.
And a blocking foul. DJ White is showing off the chicken wing with the off arm to signal that Baez pushed off. But I'm not sure White was in position. And it is the first on DJ White, the 9th against the Royals at 10:23 of the second.
Bulldogs slowly chipping away at this Queens lead. It seems that every time they've made a run, Royals have been able to come down and hit a shot. But being able to get these points from the line is going to be huge. You never want to be down 16 points, but to be down 16 points with 9 team fouls, shooting free throws the rest of the way.
And 10:23 left just to chip away at it. That's 12 now for Mike Baez. At halftime, after playing just the first half minutes, Baez had 5. Agassi to the scorer's table, the point guard ready to check in upon the next whistle. And Camps traveled. No, double dribble they call. Double dribble. He pounded it when he hauled in the rebound. And then put it on the floor again. So a double dribble on Daniel Camps. As Carr comes off and Agassi replaces him.
Queens in the first half did a good job of taking care of the ball. They generally average around 16 turnovers a game.
Camps pushes the pace, and he's fouled.
Wingate's going to get back into this game. They need to speed up Queens, try and force some of those turnovers, continue to be aggressive on offense, take the ball to the rim, and try and draw fouls.
Well, as we look at one of the some of the pure numbers, a 16-point halftime deficit is at 15. And Daniel Camps puts it back to 16.
Camps adding to, they always say the first 1,000 points is the hardest, so he's on his way.
I don't think he's going to get 2,000. I don't think he'll get 1,500, even if Queens goes all the way to the national title and plays 5 more games. Scoop finish for Baez. I only laugh because Luquan Choice is closing in on 2,000. Took a step in the right direction for LMU today, and that is a remarkable task. Lincoln Memorial, Limestone, they'll meet tomorrow in one semi. Davis can't finish, Camps the rebound. Queens trying to make it to the other semi. Offensive foul. Second one on Daniel Camps.
Well, speaking of prolific scorers, our next matchup, we have a guy getting ready, well, who we expect to become the Peach Belt all-time leading scorer, Keyshawn Sherrill.
That's remarkable. That'll be a good one. Sneaky good matchup. 2 very even teams, the 4-5 game. Baez cuts the deficit to 13. Baez now with 16 points, 11 in the second half. And this crowd has come alive. Agassi is hacked by McCall.
Well, much like we saw in that SAC Conference Championship game, when Queens needed a bucket, all of a sudden here comes Ike Agassi, having a relatively quiet game so far, taking it straight into the teeth of this Wingate defense, drawing the foul.
And that is 3 now on every starter for Wingate, except for Zarek Lawler, who has 2. White off, Withers back in for Queens. McCall off, and the starter, Griffin, at center, back in for Wingate. Starting 5 on for the Bulldogs. Josh Van Weezep will replace Jalen Alexander. Queens has led by as many as 24. Right now it's 14. Make it 15 as Agassi is in double figures with 10. Dominguez from long range. And Van Weezep will let it go out.
That wasn't the best shot from Dominguez there. You've got Griffin, Baez, and Dominguez all on the floor at the same time for the first time that I can remember. I'd like to see them work the ball a little bit, try to get in the middle before taking a shot from outside like that.
Agassi calls his own number.
Once
There's
again,
Big Shot Ike again.
that nickname's going to stick if he keeps playing like this.
I asked him about it, by the way, not too long ago. That nickname predates us, John. Apparently he was called that in his high school days.
Wow.
Lawler rises up. Off the mark, but Baez runs it down. Incredible work from Baez, and Lawler goes up and down with the basketball.
Big possession for the Royals and for this game, really. I think you saw Bulldogs creeping back, turnover on that last possession. If the Bulldogs can get a turnover here and come down and score, they're still in this kind of claw back type phase.
Agassi, a leader. That's 15 for Ike, and that's a 20-point advantage for the Royals again. Dominguez through the body of Van Weezep. Shot affected by Hendricks. Now Davis in transition.
Great finish by Davis, but that was some pass by Ike Agassi. Once again, off the dribble, length of the half court on the bounce.
And Queens in the midst of a 10-0 run. Griffin, tough finish. And a timeout taken by Brian Good. Only 7 points for Griffin. It's a tough task going against the tall trees of the Royals down low. And Keith Griffin puts an end to the bleeding. At 7:41 left, the stoppage will become a full media timeout. Back courtside with John Short. I'm Phil Constantino. Glad to have you with us tonight. Glad to welcome our audience across the Southeast region that's been watching all of our games on the YouTube stream today. Happy to broadcast all 7 games for you this weekend. Not just the Queens games, wherever the Royals may go, whoever else may advance, we will have them for you. Davis rises up. Short, and Withers runs across the court to track it down.
Big rebound by Withers.
Todd with 12 points and 3 rebounds. Agassi jumps it off, and Hendricks, a two-handed jam.
Ike
And
Agassi.
Queens back to a 22-point lead, John.
Ike Agassi has had quite the 4-minute stretch here.
Griffin blocked by Hendricks, but a foul. Got the arms up in the body of Griffin, and a smart play by Keith Griffin to turn into Hendricks. And that is the third on Jared Hendricks.
Bulldogs, 24, Griffin at the line, shooting 2.
Griffin so far only 1 rebound and 1 block. But he's been able
those
to.
are uncharacteristic numbers of him.
Presence and contribution so far has been in the point column. He's changed a couple shots, though, while they haven't counted as blocks in the stat book. He's done a good job of challenging a couple of Royal shots close to the rim.
Leads the league in blocks. Near 80 on the season. He's been averaging about 3 per the entire year. Down low, Hendricks, another finish. Pretty feed from Mike Davis.
That was some nice give and go action between Davis and Hendricks there. Slipped the screen and was wide open. Good job by Davis to find him on the cut.
Baez looking into the post, but Hendricks fronting Griffin. And now Davis is called for a reach-in into the body of Zarek Lawler. And that is the third on Mike Davis. Queens has already put Wingate in the double bonus, 6:08 remaining.
Bulldogs 44, Lawler at the line shooting 2.
And only 4 points in this one for Zarek Lawler. Make it 5. He's one of 6 double-digit scorers for Wingate. For a while, they were the only ones in the South Atlantic Conference to feature 6 double-figure guys. LMU finally got there. Down to Hendricks once more. He scored the last 2 for Queens, and a tough finish over the arms of Griffin.
That was a great shot by Hendricks going right at Griffin. Griffin had that play perfectly, hand in his face, able to muscle it through.
That's 6 straight points for Hendricks. All 6 of his points in the game. And now a steal. And Brian Good is irate with something down at the Wingate bench. I think he's just frustrated with some of the guys and executing the game plan. Finds his team down by 22. Davis spins Baez around. Now tries to lean in, draw the contact, and Baez staying with him nicely.
Bulldogs switching between Curitin, Baez, and Dominguez on Davis.
Baez nearly banked one in, and Withers couldn't corral it, left it for Dominguez. Todd comes up a bit gimpy, appears okay. 20-point game still. Dominguez now with 19. Baez with 16 for Wingate. And a foul is called away from the basketball. And they get it on Zarek Lawler. 4:43 left. And that is team foul number 7. Lawler comes out. And Todd Withers to the free throw line. Withers 4 of 7 shooting, 12 points, 4 rebounds. And Queens right on its season average now with 89. "14 assists as a unit, just 11 turnovers to 15 of Wingate. And DJ White will replace Todd Withers. 90-68. Queens in front by 22.
Well, this is do or die time for the Bulldogs with their season on the line here.
Dominguez a pump fake. Draws Alexander.
Pretty.
Nice stuff. That's 21 now for Josh Dominguez.
He's played a great game. At times, with foul trouble, hasn't had a ton of help out there, but he's consistently put the ball on the floor, under control. Great with the ball in his hands going to the basket.
Down to 9 seconds to shoot. Alexander guarded by Curitin. Alexander over to Agassi. Off the mark. Yeah, the rebound, Griffin. Thought Jalen may have had a lane to shoot it himself. Now Doyle off the screen from Griffin. Baez can't finish. Third opportunity now for Wingate. Dominguez is hacked. Wingate. 8 of 25, 32% from outside. Just a very different percentage by about 20 percentage points from the first 2 meetings this year. Timeout on the floor, 3:42 left. Josh Dominguez to the free throw line. If Wingate will make one last stand in this game, Dominguez, the Matthews, North Carolina native, nearby Metrolina Christian Academy product, a senior in what could be his final game, will have to step up.
Well, he's certainly got a lot to be proud of, what his performance is at on the floor. Wingate with some pressure here. Kind of surprised they didn't go to this earlier.
Kind of surprised they didn't go to it in the last meeting, but I guess they couldn't. Queens never gave them that opportunity, and Davis throws it away. Guriton down to the block for Griffin. Griffin, nice spin move, can't flush it home. But did quickly get around the body of Camps.
Yeah, that was a great move. Once again, back to his back to the basket. Makes a really nice move. Driven by that footwork, I would argue.
Dances and won't drop. That's one thing that is a flaw in Keith Griffin's game. 57% from the free throw line. And it'll stay at that end of the floor as a foul is called on Todd Withers. Todd has his palms up, shrugging toward the official. That's the fourth on Todd. I thought, if anything, they may get Daniel Camps on that. Camps appeared more involved in the action. I'll say this, though. Overall, 3 games today, and Jeremy Mosier, Corey Haney, and Edwin Lee make up this officiating crew. Overall, I'd say it's been a solid job, and that's why these guys were selected to work the NCAA tournament. There was that little bit of a Donnybrook in the first game, right when we popped on, between Limestone and UNC Pembroke, and ultimately it went nowhere. And Baez is called for impeding the progress and holding Alexander. And he did put 2 hands on the defender. Kind of a ticky-tack call, but ultimately you can't do that, and that's been consistently called across every game today.
Yeah, Bulldogs trying to dial up the pressure, force a couple Queens turnovers, and Baez got a little bit too physical there.
Lead is 16. Alexander makes it 17. 15 now for Jalen. He doesn't miss many at the free throw line. On the season, he shoots it just shy of 76%. And in this game today, Jalen is now 2 of 2. His first 2 attempts at the line of the game. Down to Griffin. Camps will let him go. 92-76, nearing 3 minutes left. Queens as a team, by the way, 65% from the line. 17 of 26. And Wingate in man-to-man and picking out a high out on the perimeter.
Yeah, I'd look for the Royals to use as much of this clock as they can.
Davis able to slide it over to Alexander. That is some kind of shot from way outside with the long wingspan of Baez right in your grill.
Yeah, he had to modify that shot to get it over Baez's outstretched arm and was able to do it and knocked it down.
Alexander now has 19. Dominguez now with 25. And a timeout taken with 2:21 left. And it will stretch to a full timeout. Or it is a full timeout, I should say, signaled for by Brian Good. What, if anything, can be done by Wingate in this final stretch? 2:21 left in the game. I know coaches won't ever stop coaching.
Yeah, I think that's what Coach Good's doing in the huddle down there. I mean, they're looking to dial up that pressure. I'd look for Dominguez and Baez to work the ball around the perimeter, try and get a quick shot from beyond the arc and set up that pressure. just not able to overcome that stretch in the first half where Queens built this lead with some hot shooting, with some of the starters for Wingate on the bench in foul trouble.
I think this is interesting. I don't know what it means, but I think it's interesting, so I'll throw it out there. I know that's a heck of a way to preface a stat on a broadcast, but you know me well enough to know that I'm going somewhere constructive with this.
I can't wait.
We mentioned rebounding in the open as keys to the game. Wingate, in its victories this year, has out-rebounded Queens. They've out-rebounded Queens so far today, 34-32. What else, then, has been the difference? Just shooting? Defensive pressure?
Yeah, I think, the advantage was certainly Queens' way when they built their lead. I think as that hot shooting hasn't continued for the Royals, Wingate has limited those second chance opportunities. And that probably has allowed, so I guess I'm saying the stat that I quoted at the beginning as the key to the game is probably don't pay attention to it as the key to the game. But, I think it's kind of situational difference here. You've got Jalen Alexander hitting off-balance threes, fading away. That's been the story of the game, I would say. It just the limiting Queens to only one shot per possession has not been enough.
Agassi makes the first free throw. They get the foul called. He was hemmed in there in the corner, but they get the foul just before he threw it away.
I would say, too, since Baez has come back in the second half, Wingate's offense, they've been able to score more, leading to fewer opportunities for rebounds for Queens.
Curitin off the mark. He does have 10 points, but seemingly of late, especially in the semifinal matchup and now here in the regional quarterfinal, it hasn't been the same Isaiah Curitin that had a double-double in the first meeting versus Queens and had a higher scoring output, the number slipping my memory in the second meeting versus Queens. And there was a minute and 38 left on the season for Wingate. If the Bulldogs can't figure something out, and it's an 18-point game, you just think not enough time is left on the clock. Agassi taking it against Doyle. Shot never hit the rim, so it's a violation. But Ike able to run that clock down for Queens. Agassi, a 16-point performance. Also in double figures for the Royals. 19 from Alexander, 14 from Todd Withers, 25 from Mike Davis, 21 of those in the first half. Columbus State and Augusta come up next. The Cougars are standing in the doorway right behind the Queens bench, ready to burst out on the floor and use all 30 minutes of that warm-up time once this one wraps up. Minute 15 to go. Doyle from way outside. Baez the board. Poked out by Davis.
Well, Phil, as this one wraps up here with 18-point game with a minute left, you mentioned Curitin coming back and the time that he missed. I have to say, I think this Wingate team's got a lot to be proud of in their season, kind of considering what they had to overcome with him being out and the way they responded after that slow start.
Well, we mentioned before, no Kerrigan Farley. Curitin missed time with both the suspension and an injury at the beginning of the year as Davis elects not to shoot it, then throws it away. You start 3-7, 0-4. You lose games to teams like Mars Hill, who finished 11th place in the conference, yet they rebound and they get just enough done to get into the NCAA tournament for a fourth time in 6 years. I think I said this in the previous game, but Brian Good definitely deserved some Coach of the Year consideration. I'm not sure I put him ahead of Josh Schertz. I'm not sure I put him ahead of Bart Lundy, but it was a heck of a coaching performance and a heck of a season by Wingate to turn it around. And now the Royals empty the bench. Bart Lundy takes Hendricks, Davis, Alexander, Withers, all off the floor. Daniel Camps as well, to a standing ovation from the home crowd. And the Wingate fans standing and applauding the careers of Keith Griffin and Josh Dominguez as well. Two seniors who will play their final game in front of most of their home fans just 45 minutes down the road here in Charlotte. Blocked by Small. Curtis the board. 30 seconds left, and Josh Brodowitz will help the Royals run out this clock. About a second difference between the game and the shot clock. Brian Good telling his team, don't foul. Queens will have to take one final shot, and that is it. They led by as many as 24. And the Royals will close out probably a 16-point win. Brodowitz throws it away, a shot clock violation. As Baez just heaved it to nowhere. I think Baez thought the game may have been over. And inbounds, and that will do it. Couple of last-second substitutions to get some fresh faces on the floor for Brian Good. Baez walks off. He's just a sophomore. He's coming back, and he will be a force. I'd imagine a preseason first-team all-conference selection next year in the SAC. Hovas throws it to the rim. And 0.4 seconds remains. You applaud the effort. I know, but you applaud the effort, I guess.
You gotta admire the never give up attitude of that heave.
And that will do it. When it's mattered most this season, Queens has had Wingate's number. Bulldogs take the first two meetings of the season. Queens the second two. They split. But overall, the Royals win the postseason contest, and the Royals are into the second round of the NCAA tournament for the second year in a row. 96-80, the final score tonight in Charlotte. And there's the bracket. Number 1 seed gets the winner of Columbus State and Augusta. Two very formidable teams out of the Peach Belt. Very friendly handshakes post-game between these two sides. Obviously very familiar with each other. And the Royals will walk off victorious. For Queens, it's a 6th consecutive victory after the Lincoln Memorial loss in Harrogate back on February 18th. The top-ranked team in the region. One more game left to go, John.
That's right.
Tonight. Ready to do it?
I'm looking forward to it. This is we saw a lot of points in our last matchup. I don't know if we'll hit the point total of that, but we've got some prolific scorers coming up. And individual efforts for the next two teams I'm really looking forward to seeing.
All right, we've got 30 minutes. Go get the coffee pot started. Tim Dixon will pop out some more Mountain Dews. We'll load up a couple of 5-hour energies, and we're ready to go. Well, 96-80 is the final score for John and Tim and the entire crew here at the Levine Center. Thanks for joining us. Stick around for the next game. Augusta, Columbus State, the 5 and the 4. That's coming up in a few moments from the Levine Center. Thanks for joining us.